hosted by Joe. Welcome to the Decahedron RPG podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, this is Joe. This is, I don't know, episode 120, I think, of the Decahedron RPG podcast. Today I'm joined by two special guests. The first one is Darkfluid. Hi, Darkfluid.
Hello.
Darkfluid is the host of the Silver Key podcast. It's an RPG podcast, of course. Links will be in the show notes. It's kind of on hiatus now, but the reason that he is here is that he was the winner of our last giveaway. It was a Star Trek themed giveaway. Actually, I think that one was the most fun one we had. As tradition goes on the Decahedron RPG podcast, past winners are invited to the next giveaway, and this is a giveaway episode, and we'll be talking about that in a second. But the other guest is the incomparable James. Hi, James.
Hello, Joe.
This is a giveaway episode. The giveaway started in episode 113. That's where James and I got together, and we talked about create your own character type things versus roll them up systems. And we both made a thief, and we presented our thieves in episode 113. And as a giveaway, I said by the Ides of March, that was yesterday as we record this, let us know if you liked my awesome thief better or if you liked James's thief better. We had 4 people call in and did that. The prize is going to be some fudge dice. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all those entries. And then after that, we are going to determine the actual winner. So here we go. Our first caller was Daniel. Daniel is from the Bandits Keep podcast, the Bandits Keep YouTube channel. He has some stuff on Drive-Thru. He does another podcast. I want to say it's called Monsters and Treasure. And let's listen to what he had to say.
Hey, Joe. Daniel calling in about The Thief. So I really liked both of your thieves. I liked the way that you guys kind of thought them out, what skills you gave them, how you incorporated them into the world. It was very, very cool. You know, I was thinking, I don't really play games where there's really builds anymore. I mean, I guess every game has some kind of a build if you think about the gear you choose and the way that they fit into the world, if you get to choose or whatever background. And when I'm running a thief character, I tend to like to think of them as not just sneaky in the sense that they can hide in shadows, but sneaky as far as overcoming human obstacles, if you will, via, I guess, charisma, if you're talking D&D. So I like my thieves to walk up to the guard and try to, trick them to sneak past or make a distraction. I like my thieves to be able to talk their way out of trouble. I like my thieves to be high charisma, if that makes sense. Obviously, depending on the game you're playing and how the actual mechanics work, generally a thief-type character is going to want to have a decent dex. So I would probably split the difference and go the highest charisma I could get and the highest dex I could get. Other things, I mean, it depends. Obviously, if I'm point buying, then I won't be able to do this, I guess. But if I'm rolling and I get a really intelligent thief or a wise thief or a strong thief, then I'll play them differently. But generally, that's my idea. And then as far as the weapons and those kind of things, I like my thieves to be very minimally armed. Going back to the idea of them being kind of a face or a trickster, if you show up at the gate to trick the guards as a helpless person, having a 2-handed sword and a long bow and 7 daggers on your belt is not going to help that cause. So I usually arm my thieves with daggers, maybe sometimes occasionally a short sword or a bow if I know I'm going specifically into a dungeon or on a wilderness trek. But if we're doing more of an urban or an infiltration type mission, even though they do the least amount of damage, I don't care. I usually arm my thieves with daggers, which I try to hide, or possibly a staff if they're traveling where it looks like a walking stick. I like my thieves to look like they're not capable fighters, but obviously if they can get behind somebody or in the right position, they, will do what they need to do. That's kind of the type of character I like to run when I run a thief or a rogue or whatever you want to call it. I think maybe in a more modern game, well, it might fall into the standard rogue, but I think it would also kind of fall into the bard, although I don't love magic with my thieves. So personally, I wouldn't play a bard in something like 5th edition because it's all magic. But a bard, I think bards in 2nd edition didn't really have magic. They were just kind of storytellers. But anyways, in a game where the bard was more about being social and less about magic, I would play a bard. But otherwise, I lean towards the thief. And yeah, I like it a lot. Oftentimes, I'll play characters with no armor too. I should also mention that. They can wear leather or studded or whatever, depending on the game you're playing. I will often not armor up my thief at all. Again, if we're playing the type of game where we're going to be in social situations, if we're playing a dungeon, because straight up dungeon crawl, then obviously that's different. I'll get a spear, so I don't have to get in the front row. I'll get a set of leather armor, lock picks or whatever, so I can do what I got to do. And that's that. But if I'm playing the thief in a campaign or a long-term character, that's the way I like to play them. Kind of a tricky and sneaky person, both socially and physically. Well, I hope that was useful, even though I didn't actually build a character, but you get the idea of what I would do. Really enjoying the content as always, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for that, Daniel. So he didn't say it outright, but based on his descriptions, it sounded like he liked my thief better than yours, James.
I didn't hear that at all. I think he said both of us. So I'll say half a point for each of us just to keep it simple.
But no, other than that, I agree with almost everything he said. A thief, in my mind, shouldn't look like a thief because, hey, that guy's a thief. We better keep an eye on him, right? It's counterproductive. A thief shouldn't look like a thief. A thief should look like everybody else. He should look like an everyman. He should blend in. He likes those witty, crafty thieves. Like I said about my character, she was a stealer of secrets more than a stealer of gold. So I think he would like that. Yeah, I really, I agree with just about everything that Daniel said here. How about you, Darkfluid?
I tend to agree. I typically like to run my thieves in a similar way with lightly armored. Now, I don't normally do the really charismatic thief. I normally do some more intelligence, where he's more of a researcher, more of a planner. But I kind of agree and along the line with a lot of what he said about lightly armored, not looking like a thief, because especially if something gets stolen, who in town are they going to look to if you look like the obvious rogue? So I'm largely aligned with what he said. I will say that I classically, even playing in urban environments, I always like my thief to have a little leather armor, because maybe I'm just a bit paranoid. In the thieving world, it's a rough and tumble world.
Nice. James?
I'm going to agree on most of what both of you said. I have never really done a charisma-based thief. It's usually more skill-based, trying to sneak behind and hide, get by. I do see his point of a charisma-based person, more of a face of the party. It's just not my play style.
It's funny you say that, because when I think of a thief, I think of those charismatic thieves, right? Dirk Benedict, like in every role he's been in. Starbuck. I know he wasn't technically a thief, but he was that kind of character. Or Faceman on A-Team, or what's his name from the Evil Dead movies?
Ash.
But the actor.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell, thank you. I love Bruce Campbell as the Prince of Thieves in Xena. I love that type of high charisma thief, the charmer. Someone else is going to mention another example of that coming up. So speaking of someone else, let's go to our next call. Let's listen to Evil Jeff.
Joe, Evil Jeff. All right, so contest entry. Listening to both you and James with the thief and so forth, and I've listened to the episode twice. I end up gravitating towards your character, more of that gentleman thief, the lady thief. I just had more of a vibe of the saint there, and I just kind of gravitate towards that more so than what James had put out there. And no fault to James, it's just the way that I think it was presented. I like the idea of not just stealing money, but the secrets and things like that. It just seems it's a little different and everything. Appreciate the contest. Later.
Okay, so that one was definitely me, James. The Saint, this is something I've never seen. I want to say it's Roger Moore. I don't know if that's really true.
There was a Val Kilmer version.
Yeah, there's a series before that.
Yeah, I was thinking the old TV series, but I also might be crossing it with the Avengers TV series. I know that Roger Moore was in one of those, but I actually have not seen either one of those. Yeah, thanks for that call, Evil Jeff. Yeah, like we just said, I like that gentleman thief type, that charmer, that type. So I don't really have anything else to add. Darkfluid?
Yeah, I'll say even though it was not my style, I've had several friends that always ran swashbuckling sort of thief, very pirate inspired or charisma, almost like Robin Hoodish with a lot of charisma. And so I think that's something you're going to run across commonly. And even just to jump back to the previous car, I do agree that it's a very different thing from the way bards are in a lot of systems. So I think it's definitely, I don't want to just nail it down to a trope, but I think that's definitely something that's not uncommon and that a lot of people have a preference for. And I've had a lot of fun playing with in parties with the swashbuckling charismatic thief, even if it is not an action thief, but more of the gentleman face of the party. It can be very fun. It can get the party into a lot of good and bad situations, which we all know is always great in a game.
Oh, I'm going to agree 100% on what Darkfluid just said. That's more of my type of character, the swashbuckler, the rogue type thing. Now, to your question from earlier, it was Roger Moore that did do the Saint.
Do I get a bonus point for that?
No, because I'm actually I'm gonna actually say your character was more thought out than mine. I am not a very good, don't fill in a lot of the cracks when I create a character. The highlights in there and leave it there and let it grow, but you tend to fill in all your character's details. So I'm actually going to give you a point from me.
So, yeah, I'm not going to pursue that very much because we have a whole episode coming up about that where you and I are going to talk about making characters quote unquote backwards. So I'm going to save that conversation for that episode. But let's move on to our next caller who, going by memory, ABCD. Oh, it's going to be Jason, right? Yep. And Jason called in twice because when we made the contest, we gave 2 ways to enter. One was to call in and say that one thief was liked better. Not really was better, but that person liked that thief better. Or to make their own thief. Daniel kind of made his own thief in his, very loosey. Jason did it both ways. And so I have 2 calls. I'm going to play them back to back. And let's go.
Hey, Joe, your character was better than James. I'd like to enter the contest. So I would like to have seen James's thief Minotaur. I think that would be very interesting. A Dany Minotaur trying to be a thief. I think that could be a lot of fun to play. I actually will do the work. I'll send you a thief character in. I'm in the car right now, and I'll have to think about what system. And obviously, I have to sit down and build them. But I will send you a thief character for the contest. But please accept this as my official entry, and I will talk to you soon. And just to finish out my contest entry, we'll go with Kairos the Clever, who's a thiefy type in a fantasy world. We're going to use USR, Scott Moldhouse's Unbelievably Simple Role-Playing for the rules. You can find them for free online. You have 3 stats, action, wits, and ego. You assign a D6, a D10, and a D8. You pick one stat and, one die to assign them together. So we're going to say action, D8, wits, D6, and ego, D10? No. Okay, I should have wrote this down first. We'll go action, D8, wits, D10, ego, D6. Hits, you roll your action, your wits together to get your number of hits. So you roll those 2 dice. Then you apply 2 specialisms, which are like skills. We're going to say find hidden things, and we're going to say security systems, or find disarm traps for his specialisms or his skills. And that is a character in USR. This phone call is just a little bit too short to explain USR, but not much. It's a really simple system, and that is my entry, or the end of my entry for your contest.
Hey, Jason, thanks for that. I am going to look up USR, and I am going to put a link in the show notes. By the way, everyone, Jason is the host of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast, and I don't think I said it, but Evil Jeff is the host of the Minions and Musings podcast. Both of these are great podcasts. There will be links for those in the show notes as well. Thanks for liking my thief better. That's now 2 points for me, James. 2.5, I believe, with a half a point for you. We only have one caller left. So I think we can just safely say I won. No comment, James?
Nothing that I could say online.
As for everything else, Jason said, yeah, it was all good content. And I do like his thief. I'm very intrigued by the system. I love rules light systems. And so, like I said, I'm definitely going to have to look that up and check it out.
Congratulations on sealing up the contest before we even got to the final caller. But I can't really comment on the system, but I'm going to look it up because I too like rules light systems, and now I'm very curious. And when I hear of one that I haven't seen before, definitely piques my interest to go take it. And the great thing about rules light systems is you can go review them and scan them with a little free time.
Yes. The last 2 episodes I just did was another rules light system called Legends of the Ancient World, but they also have Legends of the Untamed West and Legends of Time and Space. And pretty much what it is a very stripped back version of the fantasy trip, but also available as Western or science fiction. But it's very rules light. Audience, if you haven't listened to the previous 2 episodes, check those out.
Game sounded interested. I would like to hear more about the character because there's just not much to it. But I'll have to check the game out. I don't know if I'm that rules light, but it sounded interesting.
All right. So again, thank you, Jason, for that call. Even though you called twice, you only have 1 entry. Nice try. Nah, he wasn't trying that. Okay. Our last caller is Merc the Meek, who my spell checker keeps insisting on renaming him as Mike. I don't remember this call. I listened to it when I came in, but Merc is a very nice guy, and I find it hard to believe that he is going to come down and say that he liked either one better. I think he's going to try to thread that needle right in the middle of the road. Let's listen to Merc.
Hey, Joe, it's Merc. I just finished up your A Tale of Two Thieves episode. Enjoyed that. Concerning the contest, it's hard to say which one's quote-unquote better. It still feels like there's a comparison between apple and oranges going on because they're in different systems, and unfortunately, I'm not really familiar with either of them. I do remember my brother getting the Big Eye Small Mouth book back. Oh, this was late high school for me, so it's been a little while. But you did spend a lot of time on your character's backstory, and it certainly is compelling. So I suppose if I had to go with one over the other, I suppose I would choose your thief.
Oh, that surprised me. I did not remember him making that call. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it. Merc the Meek is the host of the Merc the Meek podcast. Yeah, thanks for your comments. You said Big Eye Small. Your brother got Big Eye Small Mouth back in high school. And so I'm very curious now what edition that was, because there was the first edition, which was very skinny, a little gray book. And then second edition was a slightly thicker version, like second edition revised was green. I can't remember what color second edition was. And then third edition was sort of a hardcover red book. I have them all. I don't have fourth edition yet, although there's a free version you can download from their site. I should put those links in the notes as well. So yeah, I'm very curious what edition your brother got. In some ways, I like first edition better because it was more rules, like more loosey-goosey, just fly by the seat of your pants and tell the story. And as you go in to the later editions, with each later edition, they add more detail and the weight of the rules become heavier. I think second edition kind of hits a little sweet spot, but I think first edition is really where my heart lies. But yeah, thanks for the call, Merc.
I am familiar with Merc and his podcast, and it is fantastic. So I highly advise anyone to go listen to that. The episodes he does with his kids, and specifically gaming with his kids, I find extremely interesting. Not just entertainment-wise, but also as a resource to see, give me a little head start on how I'm going to plan gaming with my kids someday.
Yes, that is one of my favorite parts about his show is when he brings his daughter on. And that is actually why I had started listening to Evil Jeff, because in his earlier episodes, and that's why it's called Minions and Musings, he calls his kids his minions. And he would have them on the show a lot. And that added a lot to the show. I love hearing about how the younger generation views gaming, looking at gaming through their eyes. Also brings back memories of, like you said, what you're looking forward to. I'm at a different stage in my life. So for me, it's in my past of introducing my offspring to gaming and watching them game. My stepson, Christopher, when he was a teenage boy, didn't have to worry about what he was out doing on a Friday night. He and all his friends were sitting around the table in the basement playing D&D with me. And they were just great times. Even though the games weren't like the best story or anything, the times were wonderful and they were great. I often say the one actual play I actually enjoyed was one called The Delvers, which I can't even find it online anymore, which is sad, but I really liked it. But it was a dad playing with his two daughters and his wife. And they would all just sit around the table and they'd play and he'd edit the sessions down to nice 30-minute episodes. Yeah, it was great. I love that about Mark's episodes as well. I'm sorry, I'm ranting.
Congratulations. I don't think it was the character. I think it was more of the story that you told about the character that won him over. Good job. And that is one of the areas I'm very weak on, and you are very good at. That's why you're the DM most of the time.
Oh, thank you, James.
I don't know if that was a compliment. I'll leave it at that.
No, it sounded like one. You said I was good at something. That's always a compliment. You're good at that. Yeah, that's a compliment. I'll take it. I didn't hear any malice in your voice at all. We are now going to, why is there an empty slide there? We are now going to do the giveaway. And because the last one went far too long, I came up with an easier way, although with only 4 people, it wouldn't have been too difficult, although with 3 presenters. So what we're going to do is we're each going to roll a D4. And if we all roll different numbers, like I roll 1, you roll 2, and James rolls 3, then winner number 4 wins because they weren't eliminated. On the other hand, if 2 of us roll the same number, like I roll a 1, you roll a 2, and James also rolls a 2, then person number 2 wins. And again, the people are in alphabetical order, and that order is Daniel is number 1, Evil Jeff, because I go by Evil, not Jeff, is number 2, Jason is number 3, and Merc the Meek is number 4. So everybody, if you have your D4, pick it up and roll it now and let me know what you got.
4.
I got a 1.
And a 3.
And a 3. Oh, so it's by elimination. So I think number 2 was the only one that nobody rolled, right?
Right.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So Evil Jeff, you are Evil Jeff was the first winner we ever had on the show. He won a copy of Through Dungeons Deep. And he later used that during OSAR October for his content. So that was kind of cool. So now Evil Jeff will be getting a set of fudge dice. Congratulations, Evil Jeff.
Congratulations, Jeff.
They roll good for you, Jeff.
It's because nobody rolled him.
It's like your Minotaur.
He lucked into it.
His number failed to come up, and that was lucky.
All right. Well, that's all we have. So, James, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
And Darkfluid, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time.
Yeah, I think we all clicked rather well. I thought we had pretty good chemistry. I liked it. And everybody out there, thank you for listening. You are the people that make this and every other show possible is you, the listener. There will be another giveaway coming up. I don't know what it is yet. I think I'm going to do it more like I did the last one, where I'm going to drop hints every week. I've come up with the answer. I have to come up with the hints, and I have to come up with the prize. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Do send us feedback. We love to hear from you. Call 562-774-2278. That's 562-RPG-CAST. If you're one of those people that likes to look at what phone numbers spell. You can call, you can leave up to a 3-minute message, or you can do email, or there's lots of other ways. They're all in the show notes. But that's it. So thanks for listening. And until next week, happy gaming, happy life. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Decahedron RPG podcast. Please come back again to the Decahedron RPG podcast.